welcome to everybody in the house tonight. Good to see everybody. We're grateful that you're back. And man, I tell you what a way to end the first show of the week with my dear buddy James R. He's on the phone with us tonight. And we are grateful for him to join us. James, it's good to hear from you, man. Always a pleasure. Got a lot to talk to you about tonight. We always wait till the world's on the brink of extinction and destruction in the Middle East before we talk, but it is good to see you, man. How are you?
I'm doing excellent, man. Thanks for having me. Good to be here. I don't mind being the, bomb technician, maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's all good, brother.
Well, we wouldn't have it any other way, man. Our history goes back. We started with a few bombs the first night we ever met, so, might as well continue this in 2024, right? We've been knowing each other 6 years now. Hey, I do want to get your take. We had a dear friend of mine on earlier tonight. We were talking more of the spiritual end of this, but I know that you've been following the events today in Iran. And, James, this is I guess ultimately the next 50 days are going to say a lot. That's how long they've got to name a successor. It's likely this vice president. But for the folks that don't know tonight, unless they've just not been following the news today, Iran's president Rashid basically died in this helicopter crash that took out the lives of 7 others. But, the blame game's going to start. I've actually been shocked. I've been expecting YouTube and Twitter and X is now it's X, but to be lit up with anti-Semites blaming Israel for it. But actually, the blame is falling on America because these guys blamed us for the sanctions. You had to laugh at that because we cut the money off your helicopter crashes. That sounds like Pete Buttigieg stuff, don't it? Half of Cleveland's under sewage because of Trump. But what's your take on all this tonight, and where's all this headed, in your humble opinion, man?
Well, it's not headed anywhere good, I can tell you that.
I don't think so either.
That's freaking easy to say, right? Look, here's how I know that it was a helicopter accident. Because Iran said so.
Right.
Like, that's what you have to think about, right? Like, you don't have to freaking try to come up with some strange conspiracy theory. Because I promise you, if there was some kid with a BB gun in the desert taking pot shots at that helicopter, the Iranians would have been blasting how that kid was a Jew. I mean, that's what would have happened.
So true.
So, that's how you know this is just an accident based on dumb decision making. I mean, the guys, they all knew they had bad weather and they flew a freaking helicopter into it. Like, hey, your hubris caused your own demise. And isn't that biblical just in and of itself?
Within itself, it sure is. But I'm glad you said that because I've seen a lot of conspiracy crap on the internet tonight. And I'm so glad you just went ahead and took the starch out of that right away. And I'm with you 1,000,000%. And it's just the Middle East is the Middle East. Let me ask you this, long term. Do you, I asked Ricky this, she had an interesting take on it, and I tend to believe that this is a opportunity. I'm not saying they're going to take it, but do you see a window for the Iranian people to rise up and end this line of tyrants and butchers? James, because this has been going on a long time with Iran. Iran has never really experienced true freedom, and these hardliners have made it, hell, it's been hell on earth there, living there. I've heard a story today, a 16-year-old girl got hung when she went to the officials in Iran and said, I got raped. Well, they didn't go after the rapist. They hung her. And this Rashi, or whatever his name is, he has a history of torturing babies, women, just like Hamas, pretty much like the Hamas terrorists. But my question to you is a little different. Do you believe that the Iranian people are going to rise up in this window, or do you think that we're headed for another butcher that may be worse than the one that just died in that helicopter crash?
Yeah, I definitely fall into the latter category because I don't buy into the CIA PSYOP stuff that we see, right? Is that if the Iranian people truly want freedom, they got to take it. That's the bottom line. And we all know, like every Western person knows, the Ayatollah is the one that runs the country,
Absolutely.
not the president. So nothing happened to him. So what do you got? You still got the power regime still behind the power. So unless the people take the opportunity and actually, foment revolution in that country, nothing's going to change. You're right. We're going to end up with just a worse butcher that is number 2 or number 3 down below. I mean, that's what we had in the first place. That's what we're going to get in the second place.
Yeah. Does it mean worse relations for us here in America, or do you think it's, I guess the answer to that question is how much of a butchery is, right? I guess that I'm answering my own question. I guess a lot depends on the SOB that takes over for the other SOB. I sure don't see any thaw in the relations, and I sure don't see any thaw in Iran and Israel relations. That's for sure.
No, like I said, I don't see anything changing. I think this is just a status quo situation. Obviously, Iran's been extorting the United States ever since Biden's been the president. You could even take that back to the Obama administration, because they wanted something to be done for political sake, right? That's the whole point, right? Is they tried to jam a situation for politics' sake, just like Hillary Clinton and her reset button with Putin. Like people, today our mind is so like spasming all over the place every day that everybody forgets like just simple history, like the fact that the Democrats have tried to be the ones to create these fake scenarios in order to achieve a political end, and they always blow up in these people's face, just like the cash on the runway to Iran the first time around. I mean, there's no difference here. They're going to keep extorting America, and America's going to keep paying until we put Trump back in. And I think it's that simple.
Yeah, that's simple. Speaking of Trump, and we'll follow this thing in Iran. I'm sure we'll have you on several times over the next several weeks, and we'll follow it and see what happens. And I'm with you tonight. I do want to ask you a question. It's sort of all subject, but I mentioned it in the early show tonight, and look, I've always told you how much I respect you're one of the most, I mean this, I'm not just saying this to you because you're on the show tonight. I've told you this privately and publicly, man. You've got one of the most astute political minds I think I've ever seen. I really mean that. Is it a fair statement that the threat of Iran is a little different with the nukes? I know that this may be a little off subject, but maybe not so much so. Back in the 80s and 70s, James, I remember, we were high school kids, middle school kids during those years, and graduated in 83. But I remember the Cold War well. Reagan came into power in 1980, and, man, there was a fear that the Russians and us were going to go at it with nukes and so forth. But the difference then was that the Russians knew, as we did, that if one of the other sides shot off a nuke, well, the other side was as good as toast too, because it was just idea that it was a mutual destruction pact. In fact, I don't know if you remember the movie War Games with the late Dabney Coleman, who passed away this weekend, and Matthew Broderick, and it basically was a scenario where the computer actually took over the nukes, and he played chess. The computer started playing chess and figured that there was a reason not to shoot the nukes off, because in the chess match, all parties lost. Iran is a different ball of wax, because they don't care about the mutual destruction thing, because this apocalyptic religious fervor in that nation, they're having nukes is they don't care even if they go up in smoke. Am I reading that right? I mean, because they've always not, I don't think that's ever entered their mind. Am I right or wrong in that?
I think there's two answers to that. I think you're both right and wrong. Because there's the forward-facing foot of politics that Iran puts out there.
Right.
And that obviously easily lends itself to that. These people, absolutely, you could see them. They believe in martyrdom. They believe in that it would be a blow to strike for Allah. So if they had to pay the price, so be it. Like, that's how they outwardly appear to think. But if you look deep into what's really going on, the people pulling the power strings, care greatly about their own safety. Like, these guys stop at nothing to keep themselves safe, including living in caves. Okay? Like, they will deny themselves running water if that's what it takes to keep their ass alive. So, it's something that doesn't necessarily lend itself to believe that these guys would ever voluntarily martyr themselves. Would they martyr their whole country? Absolutely, but not themselves. And that lends itself to another whole line of thought, which is that they're staunch allies with Russia.
With Russia.
And Russia absolutely believes in mutual assured destruction. So you look at all of the actual power plays and you see, there's no real there. I mean, let's go back. You mentioned the 80s, the Cold War, Ronald Reagan. Let's go back to understanding that the crazy psychos in Pakistan have had nuclear weapons this whole time.
Great point.
And everybody said the same thing about them when they got those nukes. And it's why India has nukes, because of Pakistan. But neither one of those crazy... Sorry, neither one of those crazy...
It's all right. I put it like this, James. We can read sign language on the phone. We get it. Go ahead.
Just saying, like, I think that this is just another avenue where our media is obviously engaged in keeping the American people afraid.
That's very true, buddy.
People being afraid opens up themselves almost as much as anger. And anger is the worst. Most people skip that and forget that. But that's how they control a society. That's how they get people to say dumb things like, well, the government's got to continue to keep us safe. Oh, really? How safe are you? Really?
We're not safe.
Yeah, it goes right into that whole theory of, when seconds matter, police are only minutes away. Why do people not think like that every day? Like, they just don't, because the media keeps them afraid.
Very true. One other question about this, and I'll let you go. What was your feeling? I mean, I'll let you go, but we'll go to something else. Your feeling and thoughts and opinion about Biden's comments and the EU's. Don't you find it just absolutely just crap crazy that the European Union mourns the loss of this butcher tonight, and America sends condolences to him, but I didn't see all this phoning and sympathy for Israel back in October from the European Union when Hamas attacked it. I didn't see any of that. But yet, same thing what they did with Soleimani, James, when Trump made him an ash heap on an airport runway back in 2018. And, the world was more upset at Trump, destroying the terrorists than they were the atrocities of the terrorists. And I get the sense tonight it's the same thing in the European theater that, hell, they're more upset that he's dead than they are upset that he's, that all the atrocities that he was committing and this butcher was doing. And, when Biden goes out there and it's official statement on Gateway Pundit tonight, we had it in the Telegram room, they literally had an official condolences to the Iranian government over the death of their president. And this guy was a freaking butcher. When you hear stuff like that, James R. Head's got to shake so bad that even the mountains of Utah ain't even going to be able to hold the earthquake, correct?
Yeah, largely. I mean, but I'm a pragmatic guy. Like, I see that the State Department should have issued, whatever they do. The EU should not have done it. It should have been their foreign press office. There's a thing of protocol. And that's the thing that they really stepped in shit over, is that these guys went way too hard for the terrorists and, supporting the people that were terrorized. It's just ridiculous. And it's more leftist nonsense. I saw the article you shared with me that you and I were having a private laugh over.
Yes.
Let's have a public laugh over that. One of the heads of the other countries said, these are geopolitical dwarves.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, they're dwarfs, all right. We got other terms for them we can't use because we got family in the house tonight, right? When James R. sees, I see James R. in Utah, we'll fill the Mormon air with those words. Trust me on that. Hey, man, thank you for the insight on that tonight. And again, we'll keep an eye on this Iranian situation. what is your reading of this Trump case? It seems like Michael Cohen sort of stepped in some shit. Speaking of that tonight, he, not that we didn't know he was already in that, but it just seems that Bragg's case is, James, a person with a kindergarten level legal degree can look at this from the outside and see it's an impossibility that they've done anything to prove anything against President Trump. Cohen basically said today he stole from Trump, and he even made the insinuation that he was willing to lie to the jury because of the financial loss that he would take if Trump wins this case, that he's willing to lie. And then the judge, don't get upset at that, he throws the defense witness out today because the defense witness was telling the truth. What's your reading on this crap that's going on in New York? I know we've talked about this several times, but we're getting to the end. Hopefully the closing arguments to this crap show is going to be this week, and I don't think it can come soon enough for most Americans. But what's your reading on the tea leaves about this? You think that this is going to fall on its head with the jury, or do you think Trump's in a little bit of trouble with the jury?
You and I talked about this a very long time ago when they first announced these dumbass charges, and we pointed out the idiocy, the hypocrisy, and the straight out unlawfulness of what they were doing. Just right. Straight up, it's illegal for them to even stretch this. But putting all that aside, when you lose Anderson Cooper,
yes,
you got a problem.
You got a problem, brother. Absolutely.
They lost Wolf Blitzer. I mean, come on.
Yes.
These guys have just destroyed this. And then when you've got Judge Merchant publicly acting like just a jackass, if nothing else. I mean, this is not going to sit well with the public if they actually gain the conviction. So now I think that's what do you guys remember Richard Black, the Jewish comedian, black hair? He used to play the very neurotic character all the time. Like, that is how I picture Judge Merchant right now.
Yeah.
Just like that. Like, yeah. Oh my God, you were going to give me the case of my lifetime and you've totally destroyed it. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
I have no way to get out of this. It's like, that's him right now. Like, he just, you correctly bring up Cohen's defense counsel was on the stand, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but I think it's Caputo. No,
yeah,
it's not
Caputo. You're close. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I think Caputo. You're right, Caputo. And
yeah, I mean, he just nailed him, like just absolutely nailed him in testimony in front of the jury. He told me multiple times that Donald Trump knew nothing about this. And then if you consider, just consider the facts that were laid out from Cohen himself, that he stole $60,000 from Donald Trump. Of course, Cohen didn't tell Trump what was really going on, because his interests were to steal more fucking money.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh.
I know. But do you think the jury buys that? My question is how much of a jury pool is going to, is it a no-win for Trump no matter what they say?
That's my surface level discussion here, is that I don't want to give false hope to the audiences. I have said since the beginning, years ago, they're going to convict him. They're going to try to put him in jail. Be prepared to vote for Donald Trump while he's in jail, no matter what that circumstance is. Be prepared for that. But I got to tell you, this last week has really, really started to shift my mind on this, because watching, there's people from Trump's camp that are reporting on this publicly, that are in the trial watching. They're watching the jurors. They're watching the faces. They're watching the levels of engagement. And I got to say, more and more, I'm thinking that at the worst case here, we're going to get a hung jury.
Yeah.
Because there's no way they're going to convince beyond a reasonable doubt all 12 of those people with this level of evidence. I mean, even people that are predisposed to hate Trump are publicly saying there's nothing here. Again, referencing Anderson Cooper, Wolf Blitzer, CNN, entire legal panels that have, 6 months ago were just telling how this is a slam dunk, Trump's a criminal, are now going, Jake Tapper's even like, no, I don't think they're going to get a conviction here.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this because I've been thinking. This is what I'm thinking, and again, help me here. This of all the cases right now, because Jack Smith's case going nowhere. That's not going to happen before the election. Fannie Willis's case is not going to happen before the election. I'm assuming Jack's got both the J6 and the document case. I'm not so sure either one of those cases see the light of day before November. And James, their goal is to get Trump before November. So it's all hanging on Alvin Bragg's case. This is it, man. Do you think if this goes down that the others just go away? Or do you think it's the opposite? If they convict him, do the others just quietly go into the woodwork because they've accomplished what they want?
That's a great question. After all of this summer and all the things happening in all these different trials, the Supreme Court deciding 1512, which is coming up here very soon, the Supreme Court's going to weigh in on presidential immunity. That's going to get kicked back to the lower court for the lower court to have evidentiary hearings to try to wade through that muck. All of the things push this case to beyond the election.
Right.
And let's face it, once Trump's elected, all these cases disappear because the DOJ drops the charges, all cases.
Right.
There's no reason, there's no re-election, nothing. Trump owes nobody nothing at that point. So everything disappears just on that alone. But when you think of it on its face, with the Supreme Court weighing in, we know we're likely to win there. Like everybody says we're likely to win on these charges, which take all of the teeth away from Trump. We see what Judge Eileen Cannon's doing in Florida by exposing how the prosecution has tried to play fast and loose with the law and got caught, and she's exposing it all. And she's chastising them and saying, what the fuck were you people doing? Right? So,
Exactly, man.
This all goes in Trump's favor. All of it. Bragg is the only thing they have left.
I was thinking the same thing tonight. I really was. I think this is their enchilada, man. And if they don't get this, there is no enchilada left. I mean, because they got nothing. They just got nothing, James. Listen, and that's great. I do want to ask you, this has to do with our illustrious leader. I don't want to call him the president, head of the clown show in D.C. I was at a black university this weekend, and I cannot get over how, and we it's not that it surprises me. I'm not shocked. I'm not losing my lunch over it. But the racist comments that he said, and just the lies. I mean, this is the race baiting. It's Obama 2.0. But Joe's out there telling the black kids this weekend at this college that black men are being killed in the street, and if Trump gets elected, they're going to be hunted down, and they're not going to have any food. And James, if we had a black president went to a white college and said this, do you think there would be any outrage? Or do you think if a Republican white president had said this to black kids, what would have happened tonight? You would have had the NAACP, Sharpton, Jackson, what's left of them. You'd have the whole enchilada of the race baiters out there on every network tonight just screaming bloody murder. There's been absolute silence since this weekend over these comments. This was as racist as anything I've heard any political leader say. I know, again, I'm not saying this like I'm upset about it. I'm not saying it because I don't expect it. I do expect it. It just, when you see it in print, it just blows your mind. But how does he get away with this stuff? Joe Biden's gotten away with this stuff for 30 years in D.C., and nobody ever holds him to an account. Never.
Well, because these people believe this stuff. Like they're like, I don't know how else to say this to the audience, but for the most part, almost exclusively, without a shadow of a doubt, you can talk to any leftist, and in that conversation, they will display their hubris right on Front Street. They will tell you something about how, well, it's racist because black people don't know what a computer is.
Right.
Kathy, they'll tell you, oh, it's racist because black people can't get ID. They'll tell you, no, all of the things that you think are true about equality, no, it's not true. Black people don't get paid as much as the white guy. Wait, what? Women don't get paid as much as the white guy. What? Like, everything they tell you, we can statistically prove is absolute horseshit in today's society. They're talking about a society that existed in the 40s and 50s, that by the 60s was largely eradicated, and by the 80s was completely fucking gone. Like, I know this because I grew up as a multi-ethnic person that knows what jobs they could not get and could get until around the 80s. By the 90s, man, I could do anything for real. Like white guys would hand me the keys to their business to run. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not kidding. Like, I get it. And I think most people with common sense get it, that, you know, we're these people are stuck in some past that no longer exists, but they got to keep it going. We talk about this all the time. It's like movements don't know how to win. Women's suffrage doesn't know how to win. They just keep morphing it into something else. Now we're going to fight for 2 women and a vagina. I mean, like, it can't stop. They got to find some other way to keep the grift going, you know? And that's the point where it becomes the grift. That okay, you won. You got the things you set out to achieve. Now, why are you continuing? Why can't you just consolidate and let's make sure that we're doing the right things to continue as a society? And it doesn't matter what the group is, whether it's a left-wing group or right-wing group. It doesn't matter. They just can't stop themselves. You know, it's just like a perfect example is, we've talked about this so many times, about the abortion issue. We have to win the argument culturally. Quit trying to force people to think like you when you can't achieve anything that way. You cannot win by politics, that which you cannot win by culture. And that is the facts. That is just God's honest truth. That's right. Is that we win the argument on life. And people want to keep going down this same old dark path of no. We're going to keep doing the same thing we've been doing and just banging our head into a wall and losing. Like, that's the problem.
Very well said. Well, some of these students turned their back on him at Morehouse. It's actually Morehouse College where this took place. And one of the quotes, this is a killer. He says, today in Georgia, this was Saturday, he said, they won't allow water to be available to you while you wait in line to vote in an election. What in the hell is that all about? I mean, James, is this man on drugs? How does he come up with this crap? Is that on his prompter? Is he making this up in his mind? Or where does he coming up with this crap?
Yeah, so this comes from the rules that have been established since, like, I don't know, 1800s, right? You can't bribe people for their votes, okay?
Right.
And you have to, because of that, there's rules around polling stations that you cannot do things within a certain number of feet from the poll.
Correct.
And one of the big issues the Democrats brought up was that some Republican political groups that were outside noticed long lines waiting for the polls. They didn't want the voters to leave the long lines, and so they started giving them water. Well, the Democrats turned that into they were being bribed to vote for the Republicans. It was electioneering because they were inside the footage. So then the groups were like, okay, we're going to give water to the people that are outside of the footage. And then what did that become? That became, well, they're in line, so technically they're part of the polling, and so now you're still electioneering. Like, this is the retorted nature of these people. That, look, we don't live in a society anymore where you got water fountains outside of these places everywhere that people can go get water easily. We don't have the means to drink out of water faucets anymore, right? Because all of them are locked down because the homeless people are going to be taking a shower there if you don't have the handle off. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just this mindset, again, of they don't know how to solve a problem. They know how to complain about it very well.
Without a doubt. By the way, I hadn't seen you since the brush up with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Miss Crockett and Miss AOC. What did James R. think of the World Wrestling Federation of the women in Congress the other night, man? That was popcorn-worthy stuff, wasn't it?
Hilarious, actually. And I'm someone who's like hypercritical, really, of MTG lately. But when she said, "Because you're not intelligent enough," I was like, "Yes."
Yes.
It was pretty freaking hilarious that, That's the state of our politics nowadays. The left don't listen to the right don't listen to the left. There's no decorum. Nobody gives two shits what you have to say. We're just going to keep trucking along. So does the House represent the people? Yeah, look at it. It's the same thing you're going to see at the grocery store tomorrow. Don't expect decorum out of these people. Look, I'm not being, I'm being a little facetious when I say this, but I had a space, 6 members of Congress in this space.
Yeah.
You know who cussed? The 6 members of Congress, not me. Every one of them dropped the F-bomb in my space. Okay? If people want to give me credit, you shouldn't be dropping F-bomb. Don't take this seriously. Oh, really? I had 6 members of Congress in my space, and they are the ones that dropped the F-bomb, okay?
That's the state of politics, brother. That's the state of politics. Well, our mutual friends at United Spot, they can get pretty funny over there, but they basically turned that into a Jerry Springer episode, and they had to bleep out about every other word between Marjorie Taylor and the Crockett and AOC, but it was pretty funny stuff. But James, you know what's so bad about that in a way? I mean, again, it does make us laugh, but the world is watching us, and the world laughs their asses off at this country right now. I swear, man. We're supposed to be the beacon of the free world, and the world at large, they mock us. They just mock us. And nothing, I'm thinking about this illegal alien stuff tonight. There ain't one of us listening to this network tonight, none of us could go to another country and do what we allow people to do to this country. I mean, even that little brush up in Congress, can you imagine that going on in communist China legislature, if there is such a thing, or a third world country where the dictators are in charge? Those folks would have their heads cut off. This is the only country that, our freedom of speech and our freedoms are used by people that don't appreciate them, and they turn it into the circus show, and it's embarrassing, but the world at large mocks that. And to me, it's so sad because there's a lot of people tonight that would trade places with all of us in a million ways because they don't experience that kind of freedom. And again, they can't express their opinion. And we take what we have and we drag it through the mud of a Jerry Springer episode in Congress. And it is embarrassing. It is. And I'm with you. You had to laugh at some of it. The AOC stuff. AOC demanding an apology. And again, I'm with you. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't help herself, didn't help her cause, because she sort of prompted the comment when she said what she said about the fake eyelashes. But AOC has a lot of gall asking for an apology after all the dumb shit stuff she has said in Congress. But what's your thoughts on this embarrassment of the world? Because we are being laughed at across the globe, are we not?
Yeah, but we were being laughed at long before this episode. I mean, come on, we live in a country that elected Joe Biden and let him steal an election. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we live in a country where, we got the transportation secretary that doesn't know a damn thing about transportation. That's right. These guys are already been laughing at us, right? And the media just eggs it on. I'm not mad at Congress. I gotta be honest. My earlier comments stand. They really are a reflection of us, the society we've allowed to be created. This is where we live now. So, if they want to laugh at us for being Americans, I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me. Yeah. But you're right to acknowledge the fact that the rest of the world is laughing at us. But at the same token, do they have a reason that they're laughing at us? Yeah, because they're trying to ignore how shitty their country is, right? Totally trying to ignore how bad they got it over there. I mean, you got dumb shit that is just suppressing the people in every other country nonstop every day. I mean, and that's probably the thing I have the most problem with in that charade. There was the glee with which AOC announced, "We're taking down your words."
I saw that.
I mean, is there not? Think about that. We live in a society where we're complaining about our government is using the weapons of the government to censor First Amendment activity in this country. From J6 to Facebook, everything in between, the government is censoring American citizens. So, this is why. Look at the politicians. You know, even you can say Marjorie Taylor Greene and the Republicans are just as complicit in that.
Yeah, amen, buddy.
That is complicit in that.
Amen.
And in fact, even in that incident, they're complicit in it. Because they should have stood their ground and said, nope, I don't give unanimous consent. I don't give a shit about tradition anymore. These people have violated tradition up, down, left, right, center. Donald Trump's sitting in a freaking courtroom right now. You can kiss my ass and eat my words. They're on the record.
Absolutely. And then, James, if you get down to it, the very reason for the committee hearing is something that nobody is wanting to raise. Margie Taylor Greene, I was thinking, was trying to do it, but you had Merrick Garland, and her point, there's about a 4-minute video out there that was on YouTube prior to the brush up with Crockett, where she sounded, what she was explaining was right on target in the sense that Steve Bannon, what's the guy's name? Goodness, that's in jail. Peter, the guy that was Trump's associate, and he's in jail for contempt. They're threatening jail for Bannon for contempt. And her point was that Merrick Garland has been subpoenaed to come before the Congress. He's refused. And if they're going to try to throw Bannon in jail, is it McCullough? Peter McCullough? Not Peter McCullough. I can't think of his name tonight. Goodness gracious. But one of the associates of Trump that they just recently put in jail, then they should do the same thing to Garland. That part of her discussion up to the Jerry Springer stuff was right on target. And see, that gets lost in the discussion when you delve into the Jerry Springer stuff. Because technically, I'm still pissed off that Merrick Garland's not in jail tonight because he has put his middle finger up to Congress. And if me and you did that, we'd be having this conversation behind bars tonight. Correct?
Yeah, Anna Paulina Luna said it best when she, and by the way, she echoes the words of Colonel Ivan Raiklin. And many others, not the least of which is our very own selves here on the McFiles network,
yeah,
that have said turnabout is fair play. We have a sergeant at arms.
Navarro.
We run the
Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Peter Navarro. That's it. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I was just going to say that's what we need to do. Merrick Garland should be sitting in the congressional jail cells that are there under the House, rotting until he complies with the subpoena. That's
Absolutely.
what they do. But the fact is they have no balls. That's the bottom line. No balls to do it. And they all just want to act like they have balls. And we're going to have 6 million hearings on how big our balls are. But we're never going to show you.
The big ball theory. That's the big ball hearing. I can almost see it right now. You know, James, we got to run for president, man. I mean, we got to get a ticket together for 20, even if it's a parody ticket, and just go out there and, you know, just see what happens, man. I mean, you know, I don't know who we take votes from, but I think we should fix this mess myself. But you're right. No, you're right. And I do want to ask you a question. Go back to the congressman. Your spaces, and your spaces are really good. James, what's the sentiment of these guys that you talk to on your show? I know that they're trying. I'm not disparaging any of them, but you brought up something a while ago about no balls, and you know, and I don't know if you hear. I hear one of the worst complaints that I get about our country over this network is that Republicans talk a big game, but they do nothing. The Democrats are allowed to run over the Republicans, and it does frustrate people. And I know the people you have on your space are mainly Republicans. Did they get that the public is not happy with them, or are they so oblivious to this that they don't think that the people out here see what they're doing? I mean, maybe I'm asking that wrong, but did they not get it? We're pissed out here.
They absolutely do. In fact, we were just talking to Corey Mills just 2 days ago, and I asked him the question on, you know, why does the people, the politicians, not seem to get that the people are often being misled by social media influencers?
That's exactly right.
And you know, that they don't understand that, you know, what about Steve Scalise? What about Jason Smith? And what about Kay Granger? Now, the answer he gave me was a good one. but it wasn't the right answer. And I don't have a problem saying that. He gave me the right answer from his perspective, that you don't blame the colonels for the general's mistake. And the general is Mike Johnson. But he didn't understand, and this goes to the point, that in politics, people have to have power, okay? And I love Corey Mills. Let me give that caveat up front to the audience. Corey Mills is on our side, 100% on our team. I've talked to him many times. He understands what you just asked. Matt Gaetz not only understands, but Matt Gaetz is running a coup on Congress right now that everybody's overlooking. They're not paying attention. Matt Gaetz is the first guy to break with the standard of all of modern politics, that you do not endorse against the incumbent. Matt Gaetz is endorsing against the incumbent in several districts. That is polarized, shifting stuff that people are not paying attention to. That's politics. He is smart. Like, there is a strategy behind what he's doing, and he's using politics to the greatest advantage. Matt Gaetz is the general of the America First movement. Make no mistake. If you don't understand that, it's because you're not looking deep enough. You're not paying attention to the maneuvering that's going on in our politics. However, that's all side note to say that when I talk to those people, they get it 100%, and they get it so much in Congress that the people that aren't the Matt Gaetz, the Corey Mills, the George Santos, the Lauren Boeberts, those rest of them are still trying to figure out, and all of their campaign people are trying to figure out how to utilize spaces to their advantage. Why are they still trying to figure that out? Because they haven't figured out that you can't bullshit the people to their face.
That's very true. Bingo, man. Bingo. You cannot do it to their face, can you? You just can't. James, what's your take on the House? Are we, this American First movement, are we going to keep this House in the fall? You think?
Absolutely. I think we're going to not only keep the House, but we're going to gain seats. We're going to flip some Republicans that rhinos need to get out. We'll fill those back seats with some more America First people. And I think we're going to gain the Senate. All of the map, the politics lines up, the movements that we're seeing, Chicago Red, the union presidents in New York, literally everything on the ground is telling me that we're going to do a clean sweep in November if everybody just ditches the apathy. And that is something I've been highlighting, is that we did have a few races we lost that we shouldn't have lost because 10% of the registered voters actually showed up for the primary. And that is a huge freaking red flag problem.
Yes, it is.
When you can't get voter turnout in a climate like this, man.
Why do you think that's going on? Because, I want to just say, look, we talk about this and people sort of get their little feathers in a wad when we say it because they want to use all these other excuses. But James, the apathy, it's real. And no matter how much you scream and I scream, people still just don't go out and vote. And then they blame things, on other things when they go bad in the country. But look, it's on us, man. If we don't go vote, we ain't got a right to say a thing. That's just the way I look at it. If you don't go and carry your sorry self to the voting poll, just stop crapping and bitching about stuff because you ain't got a right to say anything. Because that's where we change our country, correct? We're not communist China where they just shoot everybody and put a new government in if they don't like it, man. We go vote in America. That's how we change our government, correct?
No, you're 100% right. And that's the pessimism kills. I talk about this all the time. Pessimism stops you from doing the things that are in your own best interest, including getting your fat ass off the couch and getting another job or getting a better job or, hell, scratching a freaking lottery ticket, for Christ's sake. That's what happens to people is they get pessimistic, they get beat down, they get depressed because the news is all bad and they can't see the good. They're just not set up that way. And I love the way that you just said that it's our fault if we don't do this. Because even if you're one of the people that are the guys that are 100% engaged, you show up to every meeting, you vote every time, it's still your fault if we fail at voter turnout. Because that's the number one job. is getting people off of the freaking couch. And that's excuse making when you say, well, I did what I could. Well, did you? Like, are you sure about that? Because you were at every meeting instead of knocking on doors. Because you were at every place that you needed to be to raise your profile in the party. But were you registering voters? When were you doing the voter registration drive? When were you knocking on some doors in some indigent neighborhoods or some, whatever, like rundown, bottom rung fucking poor neighborhoods, and explaining to them how, hey, look, man, I know that it's bleak. I know the country sucks, but come help me change it for you. When did you do that? Like we do this stuff all the time. As much time as I have, we're out there doing work like this, where we're educating people and we're talking to people, and then we're motivating people. But even offline, where there's no benefit, there's no selfies, there's no cameras watching, I'm involved in what's going on.
Right.
I'm into the campaigns. I'm figuring out what we need to do things like in the real world, right? But I don't run around saying how great I am for doing it. It's like that's the problem where we're at in this society right now. It's like nobody wants to do a good deed unless there's a camera watching them.
And that's how society. That's going to be the death of our society, my friend. That's going to be the death of this country. Listen, I always appreciate you coming on, and we've already gone almost 40 minutes. And listen, I really deeply appreciate you coming on this late night Monday. I'm going to try to get you on once every other week and do these late night specials with you. I know you're about 6 hours behind me. This summer, you still headed to the States? Y'all still planning to become our neighbors, as Mr. Rogers calls his friends? You're going to be my neighbor, right?
Hell yeah, absolutely. We should be in the continental United States by the end of July. That's the target date right now.
Well, buddy, I'm excited to hear that news, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. You're my buddy and my friend, brother from another, and always proud of you. And listen, I'll be in touch with you about some project ideas. I want us to do some things together this year, and because we got an election to win, man. We got a country to save, and I appreciate every time you come on this network, and I want you to know that tonight. Thank you for giving us your insight, and always a pleasure, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me. And Chris, don't worry, I might be needing your services like all the time, and I'm trying to get. Let me just say it this way: I might become a nationally syndicated radio host here in the next few weeks. So if that happens, I'm gonna need help.
Hey,
so
James R. Mack show. I was just talking to Brad Johnson about something like that today. We need to talk. Let's talk, man. Let's do it. That's all I got to say. Let's do it.
Absolutely, brother. You're always there.
Be blessed, buddy. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon, James. Thank you, my friend. Later now. James R., everybody. Fire in that house. It's weird because me and Brad Johnson had a long talk today, and we were talking about what would happen if McDonald and Johnson got on the show and talked for an hour and run our mouth behind the camera where you wouldn't see our face and our expressions that we would be making when we were talking, because it's hard for me to hold my expressions when I'm talking. And I want to roll my eyes at something somebody says. I can't do it. I can't do it when I'm on the camera. I've got to wait till after the camera's off and then roll my eyes. But if I'm on radio, I can roll my eyes all the time. Nobody know it. Anyway, are you glad for James R. tonight? Put some fire in that house. It's late, folks, but I'm going to stick around with you here tonight. If you got any comments, any questions about the country, just a couple of headlines I want to read to you tonight. And I'm going to, let me see if this will work. Hang on just 1 second. I'm going to, I've got to put my glasses on. If I don't, I'm going to click on the wrong button here. But I do want to see if this will work so I can do these links. You're going to go black just for a second. And then I'm going to see if this will pull up this web page. And let's see if that will do it. Oh, it does do it. I want you to look at this story, not the suits there. That picture right there is of Benjamin Netanyahu. Blinken, of course, Sleepy Joe in the middle. But it's an interesting story tonight that is coming out with regards to George Clooney. That's his wife, Amel Clooney. I almost said anal, but Amel, A-M-A-L. Amel, A-M-A-L. She's acting anal tonight because she is the one that is behind the International Criminal Court's efforts to issue arrest warrants for Israeli president and officials for the war in Gaza and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. President Biden revoked President Trump's executive order against the ICC. He reacted to the announcement and said he was outraged about these warrants, but he himself is the one that revoked the ICC order that Trump had that they cannot do anything to anybody and so forth. Well, there's a twist in this story, and that's a great hat, by the way, Tennessee for Trump. I got to get me one of those. But Biden reacted to the announcement Monday that the ICC was seeking warrants against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, as well as 3 Hamas terrorist leaders. Wow, I guess that's equal, whatever. In a statement, the ICC prosecutor's application against Israeli leaders is outrageous. Let me be clear, whatever this prosecutor might imply, there is no equivalence, none, between Israel and Hamas. We will always stand with Israel against threats to its security. I mean, he's all over the place with Israel. In 2021, Biden effectively gave license to this group to pursue Israeli and American soldiers and leaders over alleged war crimes in the fight against radical Islamic terrorists. This is the interesting thing. Those reforms all failed to materialize. One of the lawyers that was consulted on the ICC arrest warrants was none other than this lady on the arm of George Clooney. That is Amel, A-M-A-L, Clooney. And I didn't mean anything by what I said a while ago. I was just making a little jest. But Amel Clooney, the wife of Hollywood star George Clooney. The Clooneys are set to host a star-studded LA fundraiser for Biden next month. Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall for that one? Because he's railing on the ICC, and George's wife is the one that is pushing the ICC to arrest Bibi and basically come after any Americans. So we'll watch this story. That's going to be interesting. And but what a wicked web you deceive when politics you try to weave. I just made that up. But anyway, it's a crock of crap, folks. It's just a crock of crap. It's just a crock of crap, and so forth. A couple of other stories I want to share with you tonight, and we're going to take your questions. Basically, there was a situation tonight, of course, as you heard about the judge getting upset with the guy, one of the defense witnesses in the courtroom. We're watching that tonight. We'll get your take on that in just a second. But hopefully this will be done through this week. There was a story I wanted to share with you tonight. I'm trying to find it here. But we talked about the debates, and I got to show you this right here. This is going to make you laugh tonight. This will make you laugh a little bit. But it is late night, and we can laugh a little bit together. The White House today would not say one way or the other, sorry for the ads, they refused to confirm or deny tonight that Joe Biden is going to use performance-enhancing drugs in the debate. I read that, and I had to start laughing. The White House refused to confirm or deny today whether Joe Biden intends to use performance-enhancing drugs in preparation for the presidential debates. Former President Donald Trump believes Biden should receive a drug test before the debates. He was high as a kite for the State of the Union, most insiders said. I don't want him coming in like the State of the Union, Trump told Republicans during a speech in Minnesota. He was high as a kite, I said. Is that Joe up there, that beautiful room? And by the end of the evening, he's like, Trump made a guttural sound. He was exhausted, right? No, we're going to demand a drug test. He can't talk, he can't walk, can't find his way off a stage, can't put two sentences together, Trump added, although he has agreed to debate. So I don't know, maybe they know something. He's going to be so jacked up for those debates. You watch. Well, Politico Playbook asked the White House today to confirm Biden's position on the use of drugs to potentially improve his performance at the debate. Quote, we thought it was an obvious joke, but not everyone on the Biden campaign got it. The White House did not confirm nor deny that Biden's potential drug use, and this was their full response. Quote, it's telling that Republican officials are unable to stop announcing how intimidated they remain by the President's State of the Union performance. But after losing every public and private negotiation with President Biden, and after seeing him succeed where they failed across the board, ranging from actually rebuilding America's infrastructure to actually reducing violent crime to actually out-competing China, it tracks that those same Republican officials mistake confidence for a drug. That's their spin. But I want you to look at this poll. It's very interesting. 1/3, folks, of Democrats, not Republicans, 1/3 doubt his mental fitness. Another poll revealed 82%, folks, that's 8 out of every 10 Americans harbor concerns about his physical and mental health. And then only 1/3 of voters, another 1/3, say he's physically or mentally fit, and those people are not physically or mentally fit to take a poll anyway, but they claim he's fit to serve a second term. On Friday, Biden, whom Special Counsel Robert Hur described as an elderly man with a poor memory, rejected more debates, which Trump said Biden had agreed to participate in. The Biden campaign said the president would debate Trump only in June and September without live audiences present. CNN gets the first one, and then I'm not sure who's got the second one. I think Fox has got the second one in September. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about that. This was, I don't want to talk about the sick video from the Cannes Film Festival. There was a film festival tonight, and there's one of the shows called The Apprentice, and let's just put it like this. Even on a late night show, I don't want to drag this show into the mud telling you what one of the scenes in that film depicted something being done to President Trump, and the story was not the scene. The story was the reaction of the sick individuals in that Cannes Film Festival that stood up and applauded that scene. I'll let you figure that out. We're adults in the house, but this Trump hatred and this Trump derangement syndrome is sickening. And anyway, I would say a lot more, but I'll just leave it at that. But that's sort of some of the main headlines. Anyway, Maul. All right. Janice Warvick says, I think James meant for you to be a helpful guest, and you and Johnson should do your radio program. Well, Janice, he might want me to be a guest. I'm still going to co-host. We can co-host one. James and I are going to talk about it. I don't know what he's got in mind. That was the first I heard about it tonight, and we'll see. We'll see. May do my own syndicated radio show and have James on. So, who knows what's going to happen there. But we'll talk about it. And Johnson and I did talk about doing a radio program, and we'll see. We'll see what happens there. We're looking into it. Nothing's cut in stone. We're going to be on K-Star Radio in a few weeks. I will have my own show at night. It'll probably be this time of the night, too. 10 to 11, I think. We got a late, about an hour, 10 to 11 every night. So if we do any late night McFiles, it'll be after that. I'll just be a busy old bee running my mouth. Something my mama begged me to do for a living when she was living herself. And she said, I sure hope you get a job one day and do something in your career where you can run your mouth, because you sure are good at it. So that's what I do every night here on the McFiles. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope it works out. I do. If you got a question tonight, any questions? What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts? Valerie, we've missed James R2. We're grateful for him being with us. All you Facebook folks, we're good to see you. Glad that we had a vibrant crowd over in X tonight. We appreciate you guys being with us. If you got a question, any statements tonight, we'd love to hear about this. What's your thoughts on the news of today? Carol Smith says he should be asked if he will be wearing an earpiece to hide his answers. Carol, that is an excellent question, excellent statement. And you know something? They won't ask him. But if it was reversed and they found out Trump had an earpiece, that would be story one on every news network in America. But you're right. And he'll likely have an earpiece. He'll likely be wired up, and there ain't no telling how they're going to get him the answers. And they're not going to play fair. I can tell you that. I think we discussed this last week on one of the shows one night. I don't see where any of this benefits Trump. I just don't see where it benefits him. None of these debates. I know his ego wants to go a mano with Mr. Biden, and his ego is going to be the death of him. CNN's not going to play fair, and all CNN's going to ask him, they ain't going to ask him about policy. None of these debates will be about policy. Mark my word, I may be wrong. None of these debates will be about gas prices, grocery prices, the border, the foreign policy that's been a complete failure, the pull out of Afghanistan. None of that will even be mentioned. The two issues that will come up in these debates over and over and over again will be J6 and Stormy Daniels. And it will be like a Jerry Springer rerun on both debates. Now, I don't know about Fox. I don't know if Fox gets the second one, if it'd be a little different. But I think it's, and then not to have a live audience, what does it benefit him? Because you can sort of tell by the audiences how things are going in a debate. And if Biden is setting the terms for this and Trump says, okay, I'll do it, I think it's an unwise decision. Now, others may have other opinions of that, but it's a good question, Carol. And he should be asked about it, but he won't be. TJ says, wired up and drugged up. That's about the truth of it. That's about the truth of it, TJ. Good to see you in the house tonight. Good to see you in the house tonight. Really is. Any questions over on Facebook tonight? You guys have been quiet over on Facebook tonight. Got any comments, anything you want to say? Man, it's been a quiet audience. Usually I get bombarded with 50 questions at the end. At least 5 or 6. Anything. Anything's on your mind tonight. Want to talk about Iran? Want to talk about Trump? We got about another 10 minutes or so. We'll get out of here. Boy, James, that hour went by quick with him. Did you enjoy him tonight? Put some thumbs up. Good to see old Bear in the house. Spark369, good to see you. Mary Cleveland, Valerie. RRR Goo. Cindy Mack, Carol, Wesley, good to see you. Janice Rorvik, Mary Cleveland, TJ. Cleo was in the house earlier. Good to see her tonight. Tony was in the house. He's up late tonight. Good to see you all. Good to see Tim and Jeannie in Facebook tonight. At least the ones chiming in. We've got about 20 folks over there. And boy, we've got a good crowd here. Any questions, folks? If you don't have any questions now, I'm going to say goodnight. It's getting late. It's after midnight here. I guess we've wowed you so much, no questions tonight. All right. I'm going to wait about another 5 minutes. Another 5 minutes. Let me just say we want to thank our all of you guys tonight. I want to come over here and put our Who's Your Warrior Coffee emblem up. who'syourwarriorcoffee.com/McFiles. Don't forget Natalie Corvin and her family. They are precious. Her brother owns this company. It's a great company up in the Hoosier state of Indiana. Combat veteran owned, located in Brownsburg, a beautiful state. It's roasted and shipped. Once an order is placed at the website, it ensures the customers receive the freshest coffee. A portion of every sale using the below link or the QR code will be sent to the McFiles to help keep us on air. So thanks to Natalie and her family for that support, and we thank them for helping the show. All righty, well, I don't have any questions in the house tonight, it looks like. So, if we don't have any questions, any comments, and all minds are clear, I'm going to say goodnight. We hope you enjoyed James R. We hope you enjoyed Ricky Wilson. I will see you tomorrow. Now, join us on the Faith Network in the morning, bright and early. And then we'll be back here tomorrow night. We're going to have another double feature. This time, Magdalene Rose, and Magdalene will be a short program, probably about a half hour. We always like to get her take. James Akers tomorrow night will be our guest, and we will run these questions by him about the Iranian. Him and Brad Johnson have a lot of insight to Iran. Eric Karen does too. We're going to try to get all three of them on this week, and then Brad will be on with me Thursday night. He's excited about being back with you. He's missed you. Last couple of times we were supposed to have him on, he had knee problems, and he couldn't really sit up even and do anything, but we're so grateful to have him on Thursday night. And then Wednesday night, we got the one and only Dory West. She'll be our special guest early, and then our midweek fellowship faith service Wednesday night. So, busy week ahead. Not sure what we're going to do Friday night just yet, but it is Memorial Day weekend. So we'll do something, perhaps. And we hope whatever you do this week, you'll be safe. And we got a busy lineup of shows, and we got more guests coming next week, Lord willing, as we get into the latter part of May and we wrap up another month. Man, where is this year gone? We are going to be June the 1st here in just 9 days. Where has 2024 gone? It just seems like yesterday we had a new year, right? It just seems like time is a-flying. Time is a-flying. Time is a-flying. Time is a-flying. And so forth. Listen, have a good night, everybody. Put some fire in that house if you like James R. There's the HoosierWarriorCoffee.com/McFiles emblem. We hope that you'll check that out and order some coffee and help the show. I will mention this tonight, folks, before I leave. We do appreciate your donations. We need them to keep our show going. We do have some projects coming. And the radio time that we're buying is not going to be cheap, and so forth. So whatever you can do to help us with that, and we got some network things we're doing, plus some faith things we're doing. So whatever you can do to help us with ZELLE, chrismac44@gmail.com, that's the easiest way to give to us. And paypal.me/themcfiles. paypal.me/themcfiles. It's a great way to give. Venmo, TheMcFilesChris. And we appreciate all the donations that we've gotten in this week and last week, and we ask you to consider humbly supporting the show with whatever financial support you can, because it's how we stay on the air, and we appreciate you doing that. May the Lord bless you tonight. I will see you tomorrow from the Ponderosa. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed out there. Good night. See you tomorrow.